Next, we're going to introduce, we welcome Steve McNickle, Business Director EMEA of HeadSpin, and Sai Kodali, QA Leader of Philip Morris International, a client of HeadSpin. Jointly, they will share their experiences about meeting global consumer application performances. Following their presentation and after the Q&A session, we look forward to a short technology showcase from HeadSpin. And over to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex, for that kind introduction. It's an honor to be here this morning, particularly as part of a double act where, as Alex mentioned, joined by Sai Kodali from Philip Morris International, one of our clients. So I'll first share the challenges that we're aiming to address, the impact of those challenges within a business, and an innovative solution to actually meet and address those challenges. And once I've done that, Sai will then take over and he'll make it real through sharing his project experiences going forwards, which I know is going to be really exciting and interesting. So let's get kicked off. So we're virtually all living, or even all living virtually, on our devices to interact with the outside world, whether that's phones, tablets, whatever. It's our means of interaction, especially in these pandemic times. It's our go-to means to connect with others, to manage our finances, to watch our favorite programs, to collaborate. We talked earlier on, Seb talked about collaboration being important. It's how we're collaborating today when we're working remotely. We're tracking our health, we're shopping, we're doing virtually all of our day-to-day activities that we used to do in person on our devices. And a lot of that is through applications. And when we think of it, how many applications do each of us have on our devices, on our phones? I know if I look at my phone now, I've got loads of applications on this phone. Too many, way too many. Second question, though, is how many of those applications do we actually use, and do we use regularly? And if, like me, it's a much smaller number. And I think this is in large part because we have very high expectations from the applications, the digital channels that we're working with today. They should obviously work functionally, that goes without saying, but critically, they should be slick. They should be available quickly. They should be responsive, particularly if I'm playing games, but not only games. If I'm shopping and I'm doing shopping regularly and ordering the same things many times, then obviously I want that experience to be fast. I don't have to wait for search items to come up. It needs to be reliable. It needs to be high quality, particularly if I'm consuming media. I want to be sure that if I'm paying for that media service, that I'm getting the high definition that I'm paying for. If it's an ad stream type service, I want to be sure that when an ad comes in, if that ad drops the definition, that afterwards the program goes back to the high definition that I'm expecting, and I expect that service to be working equally well across all of my devices, because I can be watching it on my phone, then I can pick up a tablet, I can go to a screen. I want to make sure that that is working the same on all my devices. And those aspects that are non-functional, I would call that the non-functional performance. And that non-functional performance has become critical to the experience that we have with those devices. And I think experience is an interesting thing. If we look at a quote that I love from Aldous Huxley, a UK writer and philosopher, experience is not what happens to the individual, but what the individual does with what happens to him. And I think that's become really critical and really obvious in these pandemic times, because with that experience, what do? We vote with our feet. We go to another application, of which there are plenty to do virtually everything we want to do today. And that experience and that voting with our feet has a direct impact on the business drivers of the outcome. It will reduce our revenues. It will reduce the acquisition. If it's painfully slow, and painfully slow in today's world doesn't mean I'm waiting for minutes. It can mean I'm waiting for 4, 5, 6 seconds for a screen to come up. In today's world, that's not really acceptable. I'll go somewhere else. So this is what we're doing. So the key thing is, how do we actually identify what's causing those performance or those experience issues? And the challenge today is that we are deploying those consumer applications, those digital channels, into a very complicated and very dynamic ecosystem, with many, many variables, ranging from carrier networks. We're working, my phone could be connected to a very different carrier to other people. And there are multiple carriers in my country. If we look at international operations, there are many, many carriers across the world, all configured slightly differently, which could have an impact on the type of application that I am providing. Different operating systems, Android, iOS, and various versions thereof. Different locations, which may have different configurations, different regulatory constraints as well that I would need to be aware of. Different versions of my own applications, different types of applications having different types of capabilities, textual, media, interaction, chats, messages. We have the network at the edge. Now, with the advent of 5G coming in, the edge is going to become much more configurable. And whilst that is great, it can also be a root cause of issues for my particular application or family of applications. Numerous different device types, having different CPU capabilities, memory capabilities, screen sizes, screen types, different, I would say, interpretations of the operating systems as well, different types of firmware. We have different types of network traffic that may be coming from third-party APIs that are within my application, SDKs that are within my applications, or network traffic that's not necessarily related to my application that can be affecting. And also the actual type of content that's delivered will also trigger different network and performance characteristics that will have an impact on my application. So this is a very complicated ecosystem, and each of these variables are changing at their own frequency. So that means that, to a large extent, it's a very chaotic environment as well. Now, I've spoken to some many companies that will say, most of these are not in my control. And that is true. Most of these are not in your control as a developer, as a tester, as a provider. However, the consequences of the actions from these variables not being set up optimally for you, or your application not being set up optimally for them, is that consumers will leave. So you will lose revenues, you will lose acquisitions, you will have churn, and you will have many more issues to deal with that you don't find out until later in the development cycle. And this is all about trying to move testing earlier in the development cycle. So how can I actually enable my developers, my testers, to be able to verify the application, not just from a functional perspective, but very much from a non-functional performance perspective? How can I let them test this live ecosystem early in the process, even at the design stage, to say, this is an idea for a design, let's see how it runs out in the real world, and through the following development process? How can I do that and learn early, fix early, come out with a product that's fantastic from day one? And that is the challenge. Now, what if you had access to a global analysis infrastructure? What would that do? Well, if that was an infrastructure that had thousands of these native devices, the different types that consumers are actually using today, geographically distributed, with the multiple versions of the operating systems out there, and critically connected to real carriers, real Wi-Fi, real core networks in those locations, then what would that give me? Well, it would give you the ability to understand the true user experience in the locations that are of critical importance to you, on the devices that are of critical importance to you, on the networks that are critically important to you, on the operating system versions critically important to you, and give you that true user experience visibility right from your design concepts phases. And then, importantly, if not only that provided you data, but it actually gave you analysis and gave you the execution of that data really quickly, because you may be sitting in one side of the world and your users may be sitting in another part of the world, giving you the ability to execute those tests in that other part of the world really quickly, have the analysis take place quickly, give the results back with very low latency. Then you can actually do that testing much more frequently as well. And as I say, earlier in the cycle. And this is transforming how organizations are actually bringing products to the market today. And this is our mission, to enable you to deliver these perfect digital experiences in this ever-evolving, ever-complicated ecosystem world. By giving you access to these real devices on real networks in real locations worldwide, very quickly, very easily, and already utilized by leading clients around the world. And this is a very, very small subset. And we can share later in the booths or whenever more details on a wider range of use cases and what were the specific challenges and how large were the benefits, which were significant in these organizations. But more importantly, we actually take advantage of the tremendous amount of data that we're gathering on this global basis and feed that into a set of machine learning algorithms, using these algorithms to automatically identify when these issues are there. What we don't want to do is drown you in data. We want to give you insights quickly that you can act upon very quickly without needing to be a data analysis guru. That's what we're bringing to the party in a way that's very developer friendly. So again, as Seb said, so that it can be built in naturally to your DevOps pipeline. So it's not something that's an add-on, it's happening right at the start from day one, and making available to you a whole enriched set of KPIs and metrics that you can then use to gain more insights from going forwards. So this is what we're bringing to the party, so to speak, this new testing and experience analytics platform that starts at the bottom with devices distributed around the globe, as we talked about before, devices of different types, covering the standard device types, but also covering audio devices, video devices, specialist devices like barcode readers, for example, and also lately now with some of our newer projects, moving into the automotive industry as well, where your car is going to become an entertainment center or an access center in its own right, and you're going to control that from your phone and control it from within that vehicle, get access to the outside world as well. So we don't have hundreds of cars driving around that you can connect into to test yet. However, that being said, all of our appliances are mobile. They can be moved around as you wish as well. Now, how do we deploy this is also important to consider, because you may have the situation where you need to have these devices in your labs that may be distributed or may be centralized because they need to connect to other devices under test that are part of your ecosystem. Fantastic. We can deliver this as an on-premise capability to you. That will also allow you to meet some more stringent security environments that you may have as well. Or you can actually have it on cloud, as we said, in over 100 locations around the globe, large data centers where you can access that and access a hybrid as well. Now, one important thing that has happened in the pandemic as well is people have actually, A, been working from home, but B, in order to do some testing on real devices, they have taken those devices home with them because they can't get into the office. And what does that mean? It means that you can test on real devices, which is fantastic, but you can only test on the devices that you have there. So what happens is me as a developer, I can only test on maybe one iPhone or one Android or two iPhone devices. And I have another 20 or 30 colleagues that have got a similar situation across the group. But collectively, we have a pool of maybe 60, 70, 80 devices. And when I have issues to sort, it may not be, I may be the best person to sort that issue, but I can't test it on some of the devices that are having that particular problem because someone else has them. So something else that HeadSpin will enable you to do is to basically introduce your devices that stay where they are in your own offices or your own homes, but they are virtually connected into our test organizations, so they become a pool of devices that you can control, allocate to other people, and critically can also do the non-functional performance analysis as well on those devices. So you reuse the investment in the devices, you reuse the investment in your people, and you get the performance capabilities for nothing. So that enables a real fast uplift and a quick ability to gain access to the capabilities. So then we make that available to you through a API layer that gives you this seamless integration and automation layer. Obviously, yes, there are our own remote control screens that also talk through the API, but through this API level, you're able to seamlessly integrate this with your CI/CD pipeline. You can reuse all those automation scripts that you've already invested in. We support over 30 frameworks to connect those APIs into. So your automation testing can be ready today or tomorrow, running on HeadSpin, and then automatically providing the performance data. We feed in to other applications to take data, provide data to enrich your data sets. We can set alerts for basically lights out way of working. And last but not least, this data can be made available to your other BI tools to enrich the overview and the insights you're getting across the whole application space, not just the functional side, not just the user journey side in terms of how long people are staying on pages, but the non-functional performance aspects as well. Give you a very enriched view. And then that data, as I say, all feeds up into these machine learning algorithms that are looking at specific areas of what's happening related to devices, related to networks, related to the application itself, related to the audio performance, related to the video, looking at this very much from a user's perception and automatically identifying when there are issues related to these different categories, and importantly, across these different categories. So it's looking at this very rich set of data, looking across those different categories to give you this collective view and giving you these insights related to not just functional, but non-functional performance, giving you insights related to regression intelligence, because this builds into the pipeline and the regression analysis happens automatically each time, giving you all the visualization and analytics, enabling you to label up and aggregate as well. So if there are issues, you can actually label those up, and all of the sessions are captured together with all of the data and all the insights, so that that can then be passed up the tree. And as Seb said again, it's all about collaboration as well. So supporting that collaboration, giving everybody a detailed view into what are the issues, and drill down into the data in terms of what caused these issues, and then they can go away once they have that much deeper understanding to solve them. And that's really the layered approach that HeadSpin is giving to your teams across the product, the development, the engineering, the test, the operations. And the impact I talked about before is significant. It's not moving the needle a little bit. This really moves the needle a tremendous amount. And we're very happy to talk later in the booths or whatever and talk about some specific use cases and share some use cases where we're allowed to, where people have made significant savings. 65% increased user engagement, 90% reduction in production issues. That's phenomenal. 30% faster development cycles. We're really streamlining the operation using real data from the real world and intelligent analysis. So I'm going to stop now. Probably take a breath. I've covered a lot of ground. I hope you find it really interesting to sort of set the scene. And what I'm going to do now is hand over to Sai Kodali from Philip Morris International, who will really make this real through their project as well. So, Sai, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys. Hope you're doing good. My name is Sai Kodali. I have been with Philip Morris for recently over a year. I'm taking over their position as a lead QA domain specialist for their digital consumer experience platform and stuff, and how HeadSpin is helping us. I just wanted to present you a showcase on this automation, continuous testing, and then how we are implementing this Agile and DevOps practices using this one. So that's what my presentation is focused around on that part. Steve, if you want to drive to the next slide, or how do you want? Cool. So what is Philip Morris International, guys? And I just wanted to give a brief information. Most of you guys know Philip Morris International is one of the leading tobacco companies, or you can call it as the big five in the tobacco sector and industry, where they are currently being placed upon. So what else they bring in is like Philip Morris International. The future is replacing cigarettes with smoke-free products. That's the mission on which everybody, you can see it on every domain or every platform or the landscape. What we are trying to do is like provide how do we can do the smoke-free products risk-free and better for cigarette smoking and other stuff. And what is an organization of Philip Morris size looks like? It has got 70,000 plus employees with 430 R&D scientists, 180 markets, with 150 million consumer around the world, and 6 of the top 15 brands in the cigarette smoking world, especially like brands like Marlboro and others and everything. And we have the production facilities which are distributed around the worldwide. So Philip Morris is on a transformation of delivering smoke-free future. What does it look like? So the next slide is to just explain what exactly it is. So the project, what we are trying to do is like, if you want to achieve smoke-free products, one of the best way to do this one, our products are to reach out directly to the, what you can call it, as to consumers or the customers who are directly using us. Why not the best way is to use a B2C approach, which is more on the digital hub channel, where it can be used to sell the products directly, what we are trying to do with the smoke-free world and the heated tobacco products and other stuff and everything. When we talk about the digital complexity, digital world, we are entering into an unknown territory of the complexities or the natures of what it comes up with. Like just explained by Steve earlier, the devices, the networks, the geographies where it is based on, the CDNs, the servers, driving the performance, experience issues, reduction of conversion, and then how do the once the customer comes into the website, and so if it is not available, they can't do that part, or if they are unable to do it, they're going to drop off from the website and they're never going to buy the product. So there is no conversion rate for us. Customer satisfaction is key. So we did a pilot analysis with HeadSpin. We started it, I think, Steve, at the end of last year to see whether HeadSpin is a platform which is going to be providing or with us the sufficient capabilities to understand our third-party integrations, the ecosystems, the configurations, and interacting with the page load times and the videos, what we presented it and everything. And then this POC has helped us to understand the pilot analysis to help us significantly drive our side. And I just want to say that by using the HeadSpin, we were able to drive our significant uptime on our website, which is helping in adoption, customer satisfaction. And of course, the revenue is also added to that one as a bonus, as a part of this one. So coming back to the next slide, which can detailedly explain what are our challenges, what we had when we initially started with Philip Morris, this program were like, when we initially were doing this process, we were doing very manual performance testing using in markets like Indonesia, Philippines, Mexico. Around the world, we are in 180 markets around the places. So we need to find the people who are working in the local offices, some of the offices where we don't even have presence as well. We need to find persons who can run their tests. We need to tend the test scripts from London or the European headquarters where we are based in Krakow is our place. We need to prepare the test scripts, send them to the local people. They need to execute it on the PC or a mobile with a Wi-Fi and the 3G connector. And they need to execute it for 10 to 12 static pages and a couple of reference pages, because always it's not like to say that this is our benchmark, this is how it is. You need to compare with the local market websites as well, how they are performing it, because it's not only your website, it also depends upon that one. And then to collect the statistics, get them accumulated for us an average and max and other stuff, generate the reports manually so that it can be identified, understanding what are the different conditions in the network conditions, whatever they are taking place. What was the impact we had was it was taking a lot of time. Actually, to run is like almost like 50 man hours. The test cases we need to run it for executing for 10 to 12 static pages coupled with the reference pages. This is reducing a lot of frequencies for release frequencies for us. And during the release of new features, each and every time we need to make sure we are not hampering the experiences of what the customers are already facing, which is went live. So what the objective, what we wanted to achieve here was like automation is the key for here. The way the world is going forward, automation and running the scripts automatically is a key thing. And generating the reports out of the automation is also key, because we don't want to spend lots of time to analyze the reports and everything. We want the reports to be in a readable format to understand where we are lacking, why we are lacking, and against our KPIs and everything. The second thing, execution is multiple locations with real network connections, real devices, and all this stuff. And collecting the combination of metrics. For example, the metrics what we are trying to use is the Lighthouse, which is an industry standard, which is used for SEO and site optimizations and other stuff. And next, the HeadSpin metrics, which are provided based upon the AI based detection, app networks, characteristics, and other stuff. And with also the real network connections and geographically spread across the world, the places where we want to reach out and check it out. Aggregate and publish them centrally, and we want to bring them what you can call it as both on the shift left and shift right of the test automation is like as early as possible to test it into lower environments with pre-prod or even the QA environments, or even in the production when we go live, we want to check it on the single servers to make sure the traffic is being conditioned and everything, the real-time experience. And also embedding that into our production monitor checks and other stuff. So The next thing, I just wanted to give a brief introduction of Lighthouse metrics. I don't want to go too much into details. What is Lighthouse and why it is being used? This was the tool which was developed by Google, and it analyzes the aspects of the URLs, progressive web applications, accessibility, best SEO practices, and everything. It was a framework which was integrated into Google's performance analysis, such as page insights, browser audits, and everything which is developed by the Google tools. Of late, Google has also published the latest versions. Whatever is it, I think the Lighthouse version is bumped up to number 8, which gives you the main important things is like what is the page, what is the minimum time does it take to load the first image on your paint, how does the full page can be loaded, and all these things, which are quite key for us to know on the rankings of the SEO, how it can be helpful. And also it gives us the performance of our websites and also some insights, what it can be, where we are lacking behind and everything. So we came up with a framework, how we want to do. We understood the tool. Now, how do we fit into our echo cycle, or you can call this a DevOps cycle, how we wanted to execute the test? The first and foremost things, we wanted to execute the test automatically. We want to run it as a Jenkins job, and we can run it as a manually whenever we want to run it on demand basis kind of a requirement. So we configured our websites in such a way that they can go to the HeadSpin data center, but it can be triggered through the scripts which we were written in Google Lighthouse. Predominantly, we were running the JavaScript technology here underneath the hood, how the framework has been designed. And then these tests are triggered on the different locations of the mobile, on the UI side and the API side. When we run these tests are aggregating, like the HeadSpin platform metrics are shown into their own AI algorithms and everything. We have the results. Once we have the results, how do we extract the results? HeadSpin has exposing the APIs for us, so we are able to speak to the replica DB and build out dashboards from that one. As a part of that one, we are starting to dump our logs into Elk Stack, which is that quite clear for us to build the historical information and other stuff. And the next part we are trying to do currently is like how do we build the Power BI dashboards. This is a simple ecosystem test which we are trying to build so that we haven't changed much. We brought in the tool. We have written all our automated scripts in such a way. Before we are executing it manually, now we are able to trigger it through Jenkins, which doesn't change quite a lot for us. Actually, it adds a bonus for us. Is like it can be triggered as a timely manner and wherever you want to location. So for example, I can run a test from sitting in London on a website which is based in Indonesia on the Indonesian network mobile with a 3G or a 4G connection. So what are the use cases? What we are trying to do is predominantly is like we got 10 static pages for now, which we are trying to make sure on the websites where we have like identifying what is our home, discovery page, shop multiple pages, and then not only this one, we with +2 of the comparison websites of the available markets like eBay, Apple, and other stuff, how they are going to do and how their performances are to compare realistically on this one. What does the HeadSpin platform look like when they provide to you? This is a sample screenshot of the HeadSpin platform. They are able to provide us with the devices in Germany. There's like, for example, a Samsung device with the real network for a carrier of Germany Telecom. And then we can throttle our conditions, like do we want to run it on a 3G condition, or we want to run it on a 4G condition, or do we want to run it on a simple Wi-Fi? Likewise, they also provide the browsers as well, where you want to visit Google Chrome browser in Mexico and the Apple iPhone and etc. This is a sample setup when we are trying to use it. So this is what we use it. And when we execute the tests generate reports for us, which predominantly will be looking like this. It also captures the recorded session for you, so you can go and have a look around this one. Ideally, that is very useful as it being from the QA and testing background. It's very useful for myself to go and learn if the page has loaded, where is it being dropped out, what are the timings issues, what are the timeouts and other stuff. So these recorded sessions were quite helpful for me for initially to understand, even for the development team where we are running it and other stuff. Extension to this one, the most key important things which we liked it quite a lot is this waterfall metrics, which can completely analyze of the different calls. Why is it taking long time, more than what time it's taking, 30 seconds, 20 seconds. And also the metrics, it goes on quite a lot with their AI algorithms, what it can be improved, how it can be improved and everything. These are all the information sources which are helping us to streamline our processor are exactly the way we are developing our websites. And this is the insights which we are looking for, how we can improve the performances and other stuff. So these are all the technical metrics which are very quite useful for the technology team and everything. But there are some metrics which the business people are more concerned. Like, for example, these are the sample metrics which we are publishing on the Confluence where the business user people can use it. These are purely the metrics from the Google Lighthouse metrics, like the first content pull paint, the speed time to index, time to interact, and blocking time and everything. These are much more useful for the business users, especially when we are speaking about the SEO team, the web operations team and everything, which they want to have a close eye and everything to take a look what it happened, how it happened when they run the tests on different graphs and different markets. But still, we had the technical information reports, everything linked into our Jenkins, because we and as an IT organization, we have certain ways of working and other stuff. So we restricted the Jenkins access to the people who can do that one. Predominantly, all the technology team has it, but not every person in the business will be able to use it, or they're not ready to yet. They're not ready yet to go into the detail and jump in to check the details of each and every report. If you see on this report, you can see exactly what are the different test cases we are running around the reports, and it automatically clearly marks where we are failing. The key thing here, it is like it also provides the link to the HeadSpin actual test run, where you can click on that link and you can directly go into the HeadSpin platform and see what exactly happened on that particular test run and everything. So these are some of the things which we are trying to do, which we are trying to incorporate within our practices of our developments, testing, and QA. You can call it as a whole end-to-end process for a software development lifecycle. And the markets coming back now, where we have started is like these are the initial markets. We are now live with 8 markets where we are using all these devices regularly. We have a big releases happening within the next quarter or so for us. Is all the different areas of Germany, Philippines, Indonesia, and all these markets. Predominantly, when we need to test all these markets, it used to take quite a long time for us, which is now reduced with the help of automation and HeadSpin platform providing all this stuff. So now every project has got some conclusions when we run all this stuff. What it gave us is reducing the manual effort and saving time. Obviously, when you got people from your technology office running these tests and with the results analyzed, it saves you quite a lot of time. The most important thing is about the real devices and real network connections with the full visibility of your product performance as well. When you say about the real devices, I can have a device in any location, which the HeadSpin platform currently has got in majority of the locations where we are looking for, with the real network connections and other stuff, which it gives you as a more insightful as well. And also rich data sets, what it is like, for example, it's just not only the Google Lighthouse metrics, but also the AI metrics, what HeadSpin has on its own. It's also providing the insights for us and identifying the bottlenecks and getting them out very clearly. So this is how actually we at PMI were trying to use this platform to improve the way we are doing. You can call it as the complete end-to-end software development lifecycle with implementing the standards of Agile, DevOps, and testing practices and continuous testing. For this now, I'll just open the floor for your any questions or feedback on this one, and then I'll hand it back to Steve.
If I could come in here, please. This is Dira. Sorry, Stephen, Sai, I missed my cue at the beginning.
No worries.
We have question and answers would have been from 12:15, so we are into 12:20. So can we just take a few questions now and then go on to Shruti's tool showcase at 12:24, and then the rest of the questions we'll take in the panel. Is that okay?
Sure, that's absolutely fine, Dira. No problem at all.
Okay, so let's see. I think we already have a question here.
Yeah, I can pick up on a couple of these and answer them quite quickly.
Yes.
Happy to take them up in more detail in the panel or on the booth later. So there was a couple of questions, I think, related to the coverage, where we have coverage today. What happens if you need testing in a region where we have no coverage today? Great question. Within about a month, we can have coverage in virtually any region. It used to be about 2 weeks, but with COVID, shipping takes a bit longer now. So we can open up new regions within 4 weeks. There was a question about, do we work in regions where there are not the best networks available? So yes, we do. We're working in many countries across Africa, many countries across South America, and others where they're particularly interested in testing on low-power devices, low-cost devices, and where there are, I would say, low bandwidth networks and issues with network reliability to verify that the applications are performing okay in those areas. And that can be, again, just on 3G as well. So yes, the answer is we work on those low bandwidth areas as much as the high performance areas as well. Another quick question, how long until your machine learning algorithms produce meaningful results on my application? Well, that will be instantly. As soon as you run the sessions on HeadSpin, the algorithms will run and they will give you the results straight away, mainly because the algorithms we're working on are pre-taught. They're not learning on your application data. They're looking for specific things based on many years and many millions of runs of analysis that we've done to basically identify the issues that are going to be affecting the user experience. And I'll pick up one more because it's simple. Can I test devices such as set-top boxes, smart TVs through HeadSpin? Yes, you can. I'll stop there, Dira.
Okay, thank you. And if Shruti will come on board right now, and if I'll just do a quick introduction to her. But before that, thank you for sharing your experience. It was a great talk.
Thank you, dear. Okay. You're very welcome. And Sai, thank you very much for joining us.
And thank you, Sai, too. Yes, okay. Okay, Shruti is going to do...
Guys. Thank you.
Shruti is going to do a tool showcase presentation now. And she has a decade of experience with automated, in the automation space. And she's worked with different multinational corporations, banks, and startups. And at HeadSpin, so she's a solution engineering in the solution engineering role, and it's the role takes in teams across the globe. So here she will do the tool demo or the tool showcase for you. Okay. Stuti?
Hi, Dhira. Thanks for that introduction.
Okay.
I'll just start sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see this.
Yes, we can.
Great. So for all this time that you were hearing from my colleagues and client, Steve and Sai, about the different dynamics and mechanisms that HeadSpin enables you to see, this is one such report that I wanted to discuss today with you to showcase what HeadSpin does and what HeadSpin can do. This is precisely our performance sessions report that gets generated not just for the manual test sessions, but even for the automated test sessions. So while we give you the options of different devices, smart TVs, browsers, desktop, smart watches, Rokus, etc., throughout the geography, about 100 locations worldwide, the different AI ML analytics that is generated with respect to your testing that you do is the heart and soul of this platform, and this is what it looks like. So I had run a generic test for eBay application using the Google Play version of the app. And while I ran this using a phone from US, this is the session that got generated for me. So there is no basically any training required for the AI ML. Like there were questions in the background, right? If I'm supposed to train the AI ML platform to generate these reports, no, you don't have to train any AI ML, but you just have to go and carry on your automation or testing with us and get these reports. So what this report basically captures is different metrics. So this matrix basically tells me what was the traffic or what was the domain traffic or connection usage throughout my session. So it gives us the count for the wait period, the receive period, the connect period. So all those different statistics based on session, based on domain, based on host, based on network bursts that we may have are captured in this particular session for us. So it is not just done for mobile apps, but this can also be achieved for your desktop applications or the mobile browser version of the applications. So this is one way of checking the different metrics of the sessions that get generated for you. Another AI ML feature of ours is the different issues that get highlighted. So this is also the NFT or non-functional or performance aspect of your test. So it doesn't matter if you're doing your manual testing or your automation testing with respect to your functional test. If it's a developer, if it's a tester who wants to get access or get their hands dirty on our platform or tool, irrespective, these analytics are generated for the type of testing or the type of session that you want to run on HeadSpin. So for this particular session, if you see, I got different kind of issues generated for myself, ranging from the animation to domain sharding to connection reuse and TLS exceptions. When we further drill down to any particular issue and try to understand what's really going on here, you can capture the exact data about it with respect to when the issue started, how long it impacted. You can also go about getting the CSV file for the same. Interesting thing is all these graphs start making a lot more sense now, because they get particularly highlighted for the impact time, the frame rate, the concurrency, even the network throughput that you would want to understand, or the HTTP connections that you want to gauge with respect to how this loading animation actually gave me an issue. So this can be very well understood. And if you see on the right hand side, the video was actually taking a little bit of time and was lagging while this loading animation was really going on into the picture. So it gives a lot more insights about the kind of application that we are developing and testing and want to ship it to our clients and the outside of the world. So not just the HTTP or the network burst, but it also gives a wide range of options. If you see, I'm just scrolling down. It's an exhaustive list giving us the idea about the frame rendering, the Wi-Fi signal, the latitude, longitude, or even if the IO calls made, or if there was high input latency with respect to the function that I was trying to perform, is all available on this particular report that's generated for us. So in case you want to further drill down and understand what's going on with my session, you can just scroll below and see the different calls that were made throughout the session that it existed. A couple more things that you might be interested in seeing: the different hosts or domain or port that made calls throughout these sessions. So even if I click on them, they give me a better understanding and analysis of what was going on here. So if I want to understand why is a facebook.com interacting when I'm trying to use a ABC or XYZ application, and it has got nothing to do with a facebook.com, so it can be very well removed from my coding or from my testing aspect, because this is not something that I want to see in my application. It has no identity per se, and if you just understand where it came and where it went off, so you get the TCP and the TLS calls that were made during the graph.facebook.com. And you can also go about checking how it happened for other API calls that were made during this session for ourselves. So this is the elaborate AI ML experience and AI ML results and reports that we get when we try to understand, test, and make our applications leaner, smarter, and better, when we try to understand what our applications are doing when we test them on HeadSpin.